unsatisfying business or corporate journey, and you're like, I cannot live like this one more day. What does that feel like in your body? I want you to pay attention for a minute. When you think of this idea of having freedom again, creativity, passion, excitement, this sense of being deeply connected once again and aligned with your purpose, what does that feel like for you? So, if that's anything that's lighting you on fire, and I hope that it is, then I am Jen. I'm the founder and owner of Laughing Lotus Wellness. I'm a transformational purpose coach and expert. And what I do is work with super successful, high achieving women who are really feeling misaligned from their purpose. And they know they need to make a change, and they're just not quite sure how to do that yet. And when we work together, we get clear on where you've been, where you're going, and how the hell you're going to make that happen, right? We're creating that sense of power, alignment, and purpose with success. So it's not one without the other, right? And so many of the women I work with have kind of lost that sense of freedom, that sense of being able to really emerge into who they want to be. And so today, right, we're going to chat about emerging, what that means, but also emerging into your place of hope and why that's so powerful. So one of the things that I know I was just talking about with a coaching client yesterday was the sense of failure that happens for all of us from time to time. And so she was really sharing about, like, when I feel like I have this timeline I set for myself, and then I set this goal, and then I get there. And if it hasn't happened, then I feel like I'm failing, and then I give up and I want to stop. And tell me who has not felt this way. I mean, right. I mean, I just feel like every single one of us has been in this place. And same. I've been there too, right? And so in all the years of doing my work with clients in psychotherapy, it's really powerful to really take a look at how we receive the experiences that we're having, because everything is mindset. And so if I look at all these things that are happening to me as these terrible endeavors that I am buried beneath, I'm not actually seeing the opportunity in them. And so this week in my vlog, and I'm going to have you go back and listen about hope and grace and why that's so important. I won't reinvent the wheel on that, because there's nothing more annoying than having someone repeat themselves when you've taken the time to listen. And so if you haven't, you can go back and check that out. But I want to really talk about hope and the energetic juice of hope, and why that's so deeply powerful for a purpose journey. Because, it was really powerful. I was talking to a client about this, and we were just talking about how when we're in those spaces of feeling so defeated, that persistence and patience and conviction, patience, persistence, and conviction are some of the most profound tools you can have in your toolbox. So what I mean by that is, if I have this deep conviction that I'm supposed to do something, and I go in and I try doing it, and the first time it doesn't go the way I want, right? And I go, well, that shit doesn't work, right? Right? I mean, we've all been there, right? You should have seen Pete Zenz try to build something back in the day, just saying, right? And so if you've ever seen my dad try to do something, back in the day, there was 4-letter words that were unknown to man until that time. And so, right. So this is how it is. It's like we have this deep sense of, defeatedness, right? This sense of defeat, the sense of disappointment, the sense of failure, and maybe depression and serious strain. Is like, we don't have to live in that space. Okay. So it didn't work once. One of my very favorite stories of all time to talk about how change looks and happens, a really old school one. I'm going to go all the way back, because it was one of those moments I was really blessed to walk through with a client and a friend. It wasn't a client, sorry, with one of my friends. She was having an issue with someone at our workplace. And she would come to me and she would say, like, this is what happened again. And, she was really processing. She wasn't trying to badmouth this person. She was like, Jen, I just can't with this guy. I don't know what's happening. And I'm like, you have to go talk to him. It's not going to change by telling me. I'm like, I'll listen to you. I'll sit with you in it. But I'm like, I'm telling you, the way to really significant change is to actually go have this conversation with him. She was like, okay. So off she went. She came back. She's like, that was a little helpful. I'm not sure it changed anything. We'll see how things go. Right? Great. Okay. So some time passes. She comes back in again. She's like, Jen, it's happening again. This is what happened today. Like, okay, round number 2, go talk to him again. Right? So she goes, she has a conversation. And time passes, like one more time. I think it took us about 3 times. So she came in and she was like, flops down in my chair in my office. She's like, why can I just not get along with this guy? I'm like, okay, go again, try it again. It's time to, you gotta keep at it. You guys have done some really nice chatting before. Go back, be brave, have this conversation. And sure as hell, it was that last time, that third time, that was the charm for her. And they talked, and he was really able to get vulnerable and make some connections he hadn't made until they talked that third time about what was really triggering for him. And it literally changed the face of the relationship. They became really good friends, actually. It was so funny because it was like they couldn't get along to save their lives to start. And then because they persisted, because they kept going back, they were building that momentum the whole time they were continuing to try, right? So it wasn't the first, it wasn't the third. Literally, it can take us 9, 10, 20 times of doing something to have it be different. And one of the things that I am abundantly clear on that I love sharing with all of you is after 20 years of sitting in a psychotherapy practice across from clients, right? I have nothing but hope that it can be different because I saw it over and over and over again. Every single time someone was able to have it be different than it is right now. And so when we're in a space of struggle, okay, and if you're under that idea right now that you're stuck in your business or that job and you're feeling so heavy about it and there's just energetic weight around you and it's hard to get up and go to work in the morning, it's hard to imagine that it can be different. And that's what hope really is, okay? Hope is about the knowledge, and I want you to really think about this. Hope is about the knowledge that something can be different than it is in this moment. Okay. And so we're going to have to hang on to that. And when we can't hang on to it, we borrow it from someone that has plenty. I've got an obnoxious amount of hope. And so I've joked with you before, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not, if you've never heard me say it, my actual middle name is Hope. And so I think that's so funny. I talk about it in my vlog a little bit, like my parents named me, Hope is my middle name. And I was like, I hate this name. It's so weird. Nobody else had this name. And so I think it's just so hilarious that as I aged, I was like, oh, they knew something. It really is my middle name. I'm actually not joking. And so I believe that truly energetically, this is one of my superpowers, is pulling that through for people when they're maybe lacking faith or feeling like they can continue to keep going. And so I really want to invite you into that sense of freedom we talked about right off the bat today. There is something so light when you think about that emotion. So go in for a minute. We're just going to do a quick experiential thing. We won't be here long, but go in, even close your eyes and go into your body for a moment and pay attention to that sense of freedom and show up. Just how does it show up for you? How does freedom show up inside your body somewhere? Where do you notice it? What does it feel like? Do you notice that some of the heaviness that might be hanging around your body seems to dissipate a bit because you're stepping into a different energetic expression, right? And so I really want you to imagine that hope is one of the biggest tools you're going to have in staying the course. Because when you're in spaces, and I've been there, when you're in spaces that are dreadful. I've had a couple of really dreadful jobs in my life. I mean, really, I want to be like really honest. I've had some dreadful jobs. Some things that I definitely, like every single day I was there, it was a mess. I didn't want to be there. I hated being in the spaces. I didn't really even necessarily always enjoy the environment I was in. And so I know what it is like to be in environments where we feel like we are kind of anchored, right? And what happens for you if you release that anchor, if you can emerge up and out of this space that you're in, and it can look different, right? So I redefined emerge because, this is how I do. I take creative license. And I did this month because emerge really, so the initial one I had was about gentle renewal. And I was like, that's not fitting for me. So I changed it. So this is how I think about emerge for the month. Energetic movement for evolution as we redefine growth to expand. And that just felt like it landed for me even after the first one. I liked the first one. I was like, you know what? I don't know that it's necessarily gentle. Sometimes our big shifts can feel really conflicted. They can feel very scary, or they can feel hard and challenging. So we don't want to make an assumption that it's always going to be gentle. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that word out. I'm going to strike that word out so that we just give ourselves permission to lean to whatever it is that needs to emerge and come from us, right? Wherever we are. Hi, Aldine, how are you? We want to just harness this fact that we're going to have movement, and that sometimes that movement's going to feel really glorious and lovely, and sometimes it's going to be scary as hell. So I was talking with a client who's like ready to take these big steps. She's like knows that she's playing small. She like knows that she's ready to fire up. She wants that freedom to step fully into who she is. And yet, and we talked about this at length, she is afraid. There is deep fear. As we talk about it, she would talk to me, go, that's a thought. Poor her. She's talking to me, go, that's a thought. She was probably like, bitch, leave me alone. Because while you eat lunch, my friend is joining us for lunch. Perfect. Lunch and learn. That's what I like for Thursdays. Lunch and learn. And so she was super vulnerable about being scared. And so sometimes what I say to my clients is that's okay. Being afraid is normal. When we're going to risk and take big steps in our lives, we're going to be effing scared. I get scared. So when I am in my place of abundance and it's flowing and I'm in the zone, then for some reason it's easy. It's like easier to do it. When I'm not, right? Hi, Sloan. All my friends are in here. I love it, right? When I'm in that scared space, I can tell that stuff is hitchy. Do you get what I'm saying? Stuff isn't flowing as nicely. It's just kind of stuck. And so we just want to bring awareness that in those moments, it's so normal. Give yourself permission to have minutes where you're scared and uncomfortable and hitchy and things aren't flowing as great, because it's going to happen for all of us. As we grow and expand, as we emerge from one spot into the next, whatever that looks like for you. If it's the lotus and you're in that mucky, pond water and you're rising into the sunlight as a beautiful, pristine blossom, great. If it's being in a space of dark into the light, like a cave into the light and coming outside again, spring to, right from winter to spring, whatever it is for you, you're imagining that sense of shift and transformation. You're going to have moments where it's going to be uncomfortable. And hope is the knowledge that this too shall pass. That's really the wisdom we're talking about tapping into. This hard moment, this hard emotion is going to pass. And so what we do is yesterday in coaching with this client, it was like, okay, so you're going to borrow mine. If you don't have it within you right now, you're going to borrow mine because I have a ton of it. I have a ton of hope and grace. And so we're going to give you space and expansiveness by sometimes adopting that. So this is what we do for each other. This is where community is so important, right? You guys hear you about, I know I'm talking about community again, right? But this is the truth, is that if I'm really struggling, I reach out to some of my friends right here today. If I'm having a bad minute and I'm like, oh, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know why this is, is this even working? They're who I ask. Because when I have lost my smooth flow of abundance and trusting that, when I'm in fear, I get in touch with them and they hold hope for me. And they go, oh, bitch, no, that's just your shit talking. No. Let's do some energy work. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you getting some coaching? Are you taking some downtime? They will hold my feet to the fire. So this is how we support one another, right? This is where coaching, therapy, all those experiences, community are so powerful, because we can actually hold hope and other emotions for others to kind of support, right? But you are actually, and I want you to really hear me say this, wired for organized abundance. You're actually wired for it. We have lots of experience of not being still in the mind and the head, and we've got monkey mind, and we've got all these things going on, right? Sometimes our bodies feel like they can't stop moving, right? That's true, right? There's little micro adjustments happening all the time. But what I really want you to imagine is that you're actually really, truly wired for peace and hope and abundance and purpose. That sometimes it's just those thoughts and the stories that are piling on us that are actually preventing us from getting where we want to go. And hope is just the knowledge that this too can be different. And so it's really about going after something, being persistent, being patient, which is shit, isn't it? I mean, does anybody else out there have a hard time being patient? I tell you, I'm serious. I did not have a child till I was 30 because I'm like, I can't. I'm not kidding. I don't think I had the patience. And I think finally at 30 was like, okay, I got my big girl pants on. I've like sort of learned some skills around being more patient. You need to be patient with your business, with your lane change, right? With making these shifts. So if I'm in a spot and I really know to the core of my being with my business or my corporate job, whatever it is, my high achieving, you're got the things, but I'm there and I'm like, this shit sucks. Okay. I'm going to have to make a lane change. And hope is a thing it's the blinker. Dink, 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 dink. Because I don't have a blinker. You get what I'm saying? Right? That's how we know we're going to be able to make a lane change. That's telling us that if I'm stuck and I'm feeling covered by all of the shit, I have some work to do. If I'm not inspired, I'm not motivated, I feel anchored and like dark and sad, and it's hard. Every single day is hard. It's not hard like good old work day, right? We're talking it's hard. Soul sucking hard. Time to look at this. I want to get my blinker of hope. These analogies, I don't even know, right? The blinker of hope is on, ding, 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 and it's signaling a change, and it's just telling you that it's time to look at doing something different. What that different is totally unique for every single person. I would never sit and tell you as a coach, every single person has to leave their big job or their business. That's not true. For some people, it's just redefining, which is another word I put in here for emerge. It's to redefine your growth for yourself. You have to redefine that. It isn't about what someone else thinks. It isn't about what somebody else wants. Redefining this for yourself is what listening to you. You have innate intuition that tells you. So that hope blinker's on, you want to make a change. You just have to figure out what that change looks like. And that's really what emerge means. It means we're giving ourselves permission to move from one place to another. Hope, definitely an energy, moves us from one place to another. So is grace. Grace is also being compassionate for yourself. When you're afraid, when you're struggling, when it isn't going how you think it should, that having that heart space energy, like I am going to stick with this. I'm going to use this hope. I know there's something different. I can move from here to here. That's what we really want to harness, because as a tool in your box, and I'm going to tell you right now that if you're low on a hope, you've got work you got to do. Okay. Because, and I've been there. I mean, so I've totally been there, right? It was real low. And so that's how I always know it's time to engage in something that's likely going to like a lane change, because that lane change means either I shake things up and I find a way to step fully into my purpose more in a hobby way. I find a way to make an actual shift. For many of my clients, they're in one place and they want to be in another. That's how they find me. Like I may be in corporate America and I really want to go off and I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to do something else. That's just kind of who finds me. And so that's often what I see, is that it's someone who's in a really firm lane that they've been in and they're cruising along and they're like, uh-oh, right? And the car is, stopping and starting and hitching and right. And it's not going the way that they want. And they go, oh shit, something's amiss. Either my alignment's off, get it right, or I've got to do something different. I've got to pull off on the road, or I've got to make a shift because something's not happening here, right? So they put that blinker of hope on, right? They have to reignite that. Sometimes we have to borrow it. I want to be clear about that. You're not always going to be wired with this perfectly as you wish you could be. Sometimes it's going to be your tank is a little low. And if it is, you have to borrow it from somebody else to make sure that you're able to start moving into those spaces that are actually so much more in alignment for you. To me, alignment looks like freedom. And I know this is going to sound like a funny way to describe it. But for me, being in alignment means freedom. I don't have to show up to a job anymore I didn't have to show up in an environment that wasn't supportive and loving and nurturing for me. I don't have to do that. I pick and choose who my colleagues are now because I work on my own. So now my colleagues are literally my network of women that I talk to all the time. And they're like my prized humans on the planet, right? So I have redefined, I want you to hear that, right? I've redefined this journey for myself so I could grow and expand. That's what emerging is. And if you want to imagine the lotus, that's just a beautiful visual, but it could be anything, right? We've said that. It could be anything you think about how you can grow and emerge out of one space into another. And that's really what hope means. And so that's why I think it's so important to talk about using hope as an energetic movement, right? Hope is that value, that idea. It'll be different. It will be. And so many of my clients, and I share this not, tongue in cheek when I say this, but in my psychotherapy practice, I had so many clients that would come over time and say, I feel like I want to die. They were suicidal. And how many of them, I can't think of one that I didn't have. As I'm trying to think of have I had anybody that didn't? Everyone felt differently. Some of them it took 6 months. Some of them it took 2 years. Some of them it kind of came and went, and we had to learn how to ride those lane changes out, right? We had to figure out how to reconfigure and make micro adjustments to help stay the course. But the reality is, number one, is that everybody felt differently. Okay, so they had to trust, they had to have some hope in their work that it would feel differently, because that's hard. When you feel really bad, that's a really hard voice to tamp down, right? Because she's loud. Fear is very loud inside all of us. And so, right, so there was all of this energy. But the other thing that's fascinating is if I had someone who was suicidal, who either got in a serious life-threatening accident or had a life-threatening illness, the suicidal thinking went left. Because when faced with not having a choice, it changed the entire essence of how they viewed the value of their life. And so it gave them hope. Look at that big transformation. Just imagine in the blink of an eye, having something that was just like that you went, what have I been doing? I don't want to die. That's a big transformation, right? Powerful. And very often, because in the blink of an eye, they had to figure out, do you really want to be gone? Or was that a momentary awful experience or emotion you were carrying with you, right? And they went, oh, it was a moment. That's right. And so we can have hope, because I saw human resilience in its finest in my practice for 20 years. And so I really want you to borrow and work in that space of hope, emerge from that space. So question for all of you, because I love this question. These are my favorites. What would you like it to emerge into? So if you'd imagine for just a minute, I just saw a butterfly chrysalis, of course, because the cocoon, and they're all in there and they're doing this incredible energetic work we don't see. And that's so much of us, right? We're all doing this energetic work we don't see, right? We can't see it from the outside looking in. No one knows what we're doing unless we talk about it, which is powerful. It actually helps you spread your wings faster, in my opinion, right? But I just want you to imagine, what do you want to emerge into? This month, in the month of April, as we had right on the cusp, what do you want to emerge into? Is it more power? Is it more freedom? Is it greater hope? Is it holding the vision? Is it greater patience and persistence in something that's in your heart that is for you? Are you emerging into bravery? When I talk to coaching clients that are scared and they're talking about working with me and I hear the fear, what does this mean? What does it mean if I succeed? What does it mean what if it means if I have another stumble, right? And I go, then we're just learning, right? Of course, they just probably are like, I fire hose them with my positivity, because it's true, right? We learn from it. We just get back up and keep on going, right? But when I'm with someone in that space, I'm really knowing that they're speaking from that place of fear. And I know that they can go from here to here. And it takes an incredible amount of bravery to step into your greatness, because you don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know what it's going to feel like. You only know it's like a magnet, and you're being called to it. It's like, I don't know what the hell form this is going to take. I don't know what I'm going to have to do to get there. I just know it's on my heart to do this, and it always has been. And so that's so brave. And so maybe this month it's about emerging into bravery, putting yourself out there more greatly. I have been doing that this week. This week, I'm wearing my shirt that says champagne, please, right? I joked at another live this morning. I'm like, this is because I'm celebrating. And I want you to celebrate you, right? It's so important that energetically, it's not about the actual alcoholic beverage. This is about an energy. I've had a really beautiful, profound week this week. And so to me, the importance of what helps me hold hope is celebrating the wins. I don't just go, oh, that's nice, and keep moving on. No, ma'am. I'm like, oh, hell's bells. If something's going right, pause, push the pause button, look around, really appreciate what magic has happened this week. That's to be celebrated. And when I tap into all of that celebration, when it rides around with me, it helps fuel my hope. When I tap into, okay, when I feel like I'm in the doldrums and I'm like, this shit's not working, then I go, wait a minute. Last week I blankety 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 blank. This week I did a d. Look at that. That's progress. Look at that. Someone says to me and I started rattling off the stuff that I've been doing. I was like, geez, that's a lot. I forget because I'm in the middle of it. But celebratory energy helps fuel that hope, helps fuel the lane change. So you want to right? So if you are waiting to live into your purpose, stop waiting. Please stop waiting. Oh my God, I can't. I'm telling you, I will always get in your face about this as a coach. Stop effing waiting. Start making those choices to change lanes. Use that hope as the blinker to start moving into a new lane. Life was meant to be lived with celebration. There's going to be minutes. There's going to be moments that are not glorious. I am not dumb. You're not dumb. I'm not telling you that. When we have cause to celebrate, we want to stop, harness, and joy. Use that fuel for my hope to fuel the lane change, to emerge into who I am meant to be. So there's all kinds of links in there, right? I mean, did you hear this? Like, I felt like I needed like a whiteboard. I really do need a whiteboard actually, because I want to be able to tap some of this stuff out for all of you when we're talking. So I just want to leave this here. This was something that was really on my heart. And I realized as talking to different clients and what they're working in, I'm like, oh my God, this is so powerful. And hope to me is literally the vision and the knowledge that I have all the way into my bones that this too will be different. I am capable of making big change. I'm capable of creating what I want to create in my life. I'm capable of that. And so when I come from a very abundant mindset, my friends, it lights that shit on fire. And so I really want to invite you into that space. Can you be hopeful for yourself? Can you see that something can be different from here to here? When it gets hard, can you pull up that hope, right? Fueled by abundance. If you can't, who are you going to tap into for it? The people that have been game changers for me, my network of women that are amazing, that support me in my business, my family and friends, my communities, and coaching. So when I have another person coaching me, because yes, I receive it, and they're like, pedal the metal, Jen. How are you doing with that? Are you holding yourself accountable? You're better than this. I'm telling you, they hold my feet to the fire. And at one point, I don't know that I would have been as gracious at handling it. I'll be honest. I think early in my life, I really struggled, and I'm like, bring it, because I know it's not personal. They're helping guide me. And it fires me up so hard. You have no idea. Like literally I get off and it's like spewing fire. Like I get so excited, even when I'm being challenged. So when I'm stuck, I borrow it. So I really think this is so important to really think about, are you harnessing your hope, right? Can you celebrate the things to help fuel that abundance and have hope and to make a lane change? Can you do those things? And then that question I really want you to answer in the comments for me though, this is the final thing. What would you like to emerge into this month? I want you to really challenge yourself. What do you want to emerge into this month? Is it greater patience? Is it greater conviction? Is it greater hope? Is it making a lane change? Is it bravery? Is it power? I don't care what it is. I just want to hear from you in the comments. What do you want to emerge with this month? What are you going to use all of the juice we're going to grow this month to help you elevate into? What are you going to do to expand? I want you to tell me how you want to expand. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be signing off. I'm going to tell you that I do have an upcoming webinar on April 13th in the evening from 7 to 8:30. It will be a prize and it's all about releasing. So it's great that this month we're talking about emerging, because when we're emerging, sometimes we're coming from those places of kind of challenge or old stories. And we really need to kind of pop up above that. And so releasing is one of the pivotal keys that I teach every single coaching client, like absolute pivotal. So we're going to come in, we're going to do a prize webinar on the 13th to harness into those tools to really help you release and move into some space. So if there's something that you know you're struggling with, come and join me on the 13th, okay? And you can head right over to my website. It's laughinglotuswellness.com/webinar. That'll take you right to a page. You can get signed up, easy peasy. All I need is your email to send you the Zoom. Done and done. So who wants to let some shit go? Anybody? Right? So as it's spring, what do we want to leave behind? In the winter, we reflect. So what's in that space? Old stories, challenges, conflicts, beliefs that don't work for you. What are you ready to rise above? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to arise. We're going to lift and elevate out of that space. And so I want you to come and join me on the 13th. All right, my loves. Blessings, love, and light to all of you. Thank you so much for joining me today. So grateful for everybody coming and hanging out with me. Please drop questions in the chat. Reach out to me if you ever have specific questions that you don't feel comfortable putting in the chat. And then as always, my friends, I'll be back next week, same time, same channel. And love and welcome questions and comments. So put those comments in that chat for me if you would, because I love hearing from you and being able to share stories and experiences with you, because that's how we grow. So until next time, this is Jen supporting you as you rise on your path to purpose, and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.